everybody. We're doing another fun episode today. We've got some super fun hosts on the podcast today. We've got me, Alex, and everyone's favorite.
Oh, Kanye? No, I'm just kidding. It's me, AJ.
Kanye West is on the podcast today. No, AJ. Unfortunately, Kanye couldn't make it. He said, he said that the Chick-fil-A line was too long. So
he's got to get his Chick-fil-A in before Sundays, you know?
Yeah, they're closed on Sundays if y'all don't know that. But so you got me and AJ today instead, and I don't even know what episode we're on. We're on episode like 40.
We're almost to 50.
4.
No, more. I think when this airs, this will be over 50. I think this will be 50 or 51.
We're over 50 or under 50, somewhere in that realm. But
hey,
either way,
I never thought we'd make it this far.
I didn't think we were gonna make it past like 3 episodes. So like, congrats to us, I guess. Is that too cocky to congrat?
No, that's the right that's the right amount of cocky. All right, that's the right amount of cocky. So, Alex, how has the weather been in LA so far?
So honestly, it's been good, but it's been weird because like fall. First of all, fall's kind of a joke here. Like, I went to Target the other day to buy shorts, and they're like, "Oh, we only have flannels and jeans right now." I'm like, "But it's LA. It was 95 degrees 2 days ago." I'm like, "I don't want to wear flannel shorts.
I still just want shorts."
Yeah, I'm like, true fall weather is like late January here, and it's not even really that true. But it's like, it's been strange. Like, the mornings it's been chilly enough that you can wear a jacket and a beanie, but like at nighttime it's been about 65, but the humidity has been about 90%. So
that's weird. What a wide swing. Yeah,
so it's cold and hot, I guess. It's like it's like I put my air conditioner on because it's sticky. I don't know, it's not usually humid around this time, but it's strange. Texas, I guess, is just always
Texas is good. No, Texas, it's actually really, really nice now in Texas. I think we're still kind of like near the tail end of hurricane season. Or no, actually, maybe in the middle, more in the middle of hurricane season.
It's weird saying that during a hurricane, but
no big deal. Speaking of hurricanes, I was going to ask you, are you familiar with the Waffle House Index?
Very little. It's something about hold on, let me see if I can get this. If a Waffle House closes down, that means that like the hurricane is legit, right?
Yeah. So you're very, very, very close. So for those who don't know, in fact, hold on, let me back up. For those who have no idea what we're talking about, there is a restaurant chain all across America, as far as I know. There's only very few states that don't have a Waffle House.
I've never seen a Waffle House in person.
You've never been to Waffle House? Okay.
No.
Waffle House is a magical place. It is it's so hard to explain. It's you know how you go to like Benihana to eat food because you're getting a show, it's like the experience, the ambiance of your dinner. That's what Waffle House is. You never actually go for the actual food. It's just like the experience of being in a Waffle House. The way they have their restaurants is diner style, and then they're notorious for just their cooks being they'll take cigarette breaks mid like cooking dishes and stuff like that. They'll get into fights. I mean, you never want to get in a fight with the Waffle House employee.
Speaking of fights, I gotta be honest, like my whole opening to World Star was just from watching Waffle House.
Watching Waffle House. Okay.
From like from the cooks, right?
Yeah. Anyone can get it at Waffle House. I mean, you can either get flapjacks or these hands. I mean, like, it's just pick and choose. So anyways, they're very prominent in the South. And so I recently found out about this whole thing called the Waffle House Index. And like you said, it is I don't know who specifically uses it. I think it was FEMA. We may need to get fact checked, but I think FEMA uses this as a unofficial like disaster response. But basically, they have green, yellow, and red codes. So green is that the restaurant, like the Waffle Houses, have power. Damage is like limited, or there's like no damage at all. Yellow is that like limited menu. So when it's green, they're serving everything. When it's yellow, it's like a limited menu. and they have no power, or they're on running off a generator, or their food supplies are low. And then when it's red, that's the restaurant is closed and there's severe damage or flooding. And so why I find this hilarious, because I'm like, that is the barometer for Waffle House employees, whether they know if they're going to come to work. Like, Waffle House will stay open near like cataclysmic events as long as they got power.
That is crazy. I just like I can't
Yeah.
imagine. It's like there's like a car like going down the middle of the street and the cook's like, I gotta get that chicken finished. It's like,
Well, I think what's even crazier is that people go in the middle of a hurricane. People at
wait,
Waffle House. Waffle
do
House is
Waffle
open.
Houses serve chicken or is it just waffles?
Yes. No,
Okay.
it's like
All
it's
right.
like diner food. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, yeah.
Like it
Now
like Roscoe's is like big out here, but that's like it's a
that's
little more
no, it's
local.
not Roscoe's level. You have to understand. This is okay. There's like in terms of like fast food, like breakfast junk. Like
Hmm.
there's like McDonald's, and then there's like Denny's. Then there's Waffle House.
Okay,
Okay,
so step above a
you know
waffle
what I
or
mean?
Denny's.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like it's not the greatest food, but it's the experience. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I still got to do that, and I'm gonna say it wrong. What a burger!
Oh, you've never been to
I've
Whataburger?
never seen either of them. They just like I've been like I grew up too far north, and then I technically went south, but like California would never consider themselves the South, and the South would never consider
Yeah,
California the South. So
California, the South. Yeah. Next time you come to Texas, we're gonna hit up a Bucky's. We're gonna hit up a Whataburger.
oh, I've
We're
done
gonna hit up a
Bucky's.
Waffle House. Oh, you've been to Bucky's. Okay,
Oh
good. You
yeah,
have a Bucky's shirt. You need a
I
Bucky's shirt.
I
It's
don't have a
not
I don't have a
okay.
Bucky's shirt
See, then we have to go to you. It's not you haven't gone to Bucky's unless you have a Bucky's shirt. Otherwise, you didn't really go. No one
or
knows
a
you went.
gun. They had like Bucky's gun
That's true.
cases and
That's
stuff
true.
too.
You just need some Bucky's merch. That's all it is, really. It's hilarious,
I
man. The
like
South is crazy.
yeah, they even had Bucky's deer stands,
Oh, if
which is
again, if you've never been to Bucky's, it is like Walmart meets. I don't even know how to explain it. Like everything is branded with this chipmunk, the Bucky's chipmunk. It's amazing, man. It's amazing. I love they have like seasoned like nuts,
oh
like
yeah,
walnuts. Yeah.
I got the honey roasted ones last time I was
Okay.
there. But
Yeah. Yeah.
and
So
they got
next
beef
time you come,
jerky. They got it all. They got like a
you got
thousand flavors
everything,
of
man.
jerky.
It's heaven. It's
Should
the
we
best
just
place, man.
should we just do this whole recording on Bucky's?
No, no.
Yeah,
Let's
dude.
get into the meat and potatoes, man. Let's get into the meat and
This
potatoes. So
this what we're gonna
yeah,
talk about is south-ish. Maybe
it is.
they're
It's
probably within
south.
about a 10-hour drive of a Bucky's. That's gonna be my
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, yeah. It's maybe even sooner. Maybe even sooner.
Like 6 hours.
Yeah, Alex. We remember last couple of months ago we had watched season 1 of Reservation Dogs, or Res Dogs, as they like to be called. And we liked it. I think we both talked about it. And we liked it a lot.
Yeah.
So I was surprised that there was such a fast turnaround on season 2. I was like,
I was actually confused because you're the one that reached out to me and you're like, yeah, you want to do
yeah,
season 2? And I was like, didn't season 1 just happen? I looked it up though.
yeah.
It's been like I think it was a little less than a year, but that still seems really quick to me.
My theory is that they had the filming done and then COVID happened and they
Hmm.
probably sat on it for a little while. Because if you also remember, like right when COVID happened was the whole Fox Disney merger thing,
Hmm.
too. So I have a feeling like they probably filmed it like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, and they only released it last year and had already were in film like production for season 2 while season 1 was already out. You know what I mean?
It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Man, like what a surprise of a show. I mean, I know you and I have talked a lot about Taika, and Taika is one of the creators of the show, and I went in just like expecting full blown wild Taika humor, and like some of it's there, but like the show really like surprised me. Like I actually felt like I had more similarities to like a lot of the discussions in like King of the Hill. Like it's just very I
Grounded.
guess it's a drama. Yeah, it's grounded.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call this a comedy. I would call it a drama that just has really good writing and happens to be funny.
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the show I I think we described it this way too last time, but the show I feel like the show exists even if it wasn't on TV, if that makes any sense. Like
Hmm.
I feel like this is actual native like lifestyle, and I feel like we're just being invited in, like a peek behind the curtain type of thing. It's pretty cool. It's very different from the way they speak to the way they act to the way they think.
They
The
say shit ass a
reservation,
lot.
the shit at yeah, shit.
Yeah.
Well, it took me a minute to realize that shit ass is a term for baby. That's what it took me, because babies shit
Oh,
their ass, right?
yeah,
So
like your
like,
baby.
yeah,
I get
yeah.
it.
So like, it took me a long time to put that together. I'm like, oh, that's so funny. But yeah, exactly. Like just the expressions that they use is it's hilarious. It's interesting. I don't know. It's a different light. I mean, you actually brought up King of the Hill, and that's such a good way to bring it up, because I think up until that point we didn't really have like a prominent show about Texas and like Texas lifestyle that wasn't like, you know, insane, like, you know what I mean, like crazy. It was grounded, right? And I think that's what that show does, you know what I mean, for Native American culture.
Yeah, and I I actually I read an interview with Taika recently, and it was about Thor Ragnarok, or sorry, Thor Love and
Mm-hmm.
Thunder, because that was
Mm-hmm.
like his probably most talked about thing in the past year. But there was a little brief thing about Reservation Dogs, and he mentioned like this project was actually like started by the whole team kind of separately, and he's like, yeah, I love the show, but he's kind of I mean, he's a creator,
He's
but I'd
like,
almost say he's like an advisor of it. It's like he's kind of
yeah,
coming in
he
and
doesn't want to intervene.
yeah, he's just like adding his humor into it, and you can see when Taika characters are there, and like they drink a soda called Skuck's Life, which is like totally a reference to Hunt for the Wilder People. So I love that like Taika's world is within this, but I like that it still feels like its own. It still feels like a standalone show. Like I think they could have still successfully done it without him. He just like adds that that's
Yeah,
he
like
adds the dessert on top.
well, yeah. So like, so to recap, in season one, if you remember, right? The Res Dogs, they are four kids: Cheese, Alora, Willie, Jack, and Bear, and they are dealing with like the aftermath of the death of their friend, and leader, really, of their group, Daniel. Daniel was the if we're going to compare them to wolves, he was that alpha dog. You know what I mean? And I think the first season, without before we get into season two, like the first season really dealt with like the aftermath, if that makes any sense, of like where like where their lives are in relation to Daniel's death, and how they are trying to deal with it, how they're trying to cope with it, you
Yeah, you
know?
don't really see it. Doesn't really give a lot of detail on like what happened, what led up to before. It's very just like here's this group of kids, and here's them just existing in the present and dealing with um yeah, just dealing with their current reality. Like I felt like that was a
Yeah.
lot of season one.
Yeah. So what did you think changed when you started when you watched season two? Like, what did you think was different with the show, in comparison to the way they presented season one?
Yeah, one big thing I'd noticed was of season two. It's not even just the main crew, but like the parents and the side characters. Everyone's either standalone or like in small groups. Like even was it Officer Big? There's an episode
Offered big,
of
yeah,
him, and it's kind of a
hilarious
standalone.
episode.
Yeah, it's so funny, but it's like a
That's
standalone,
a Taika episode.
totally a Taika episode. But it's like a standalone one of his, and it's really unique to see the characters kind of coming not only coming to terms on their own, but also like uh, it's high school and it's a small town. Like the second you get in an argument, people kind of split, and then like things
Yeah,
become awkward. And there's a lot of that in this one. There's not as much. I'd
yeah,
say there's less unity.
yeah. A lot less unity. I think the biggest difference, for me, was that like season one was, I guess, presenting like a perspective of like, this is what happens when you avoid those tough conversations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talking about your feelings, and I felt like season two was like this whole. It was like addressing this whole thing of like, this is how we grieve. This is how we get over our grief. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I felt like even in the what you would call like side episodes, or like the filler episodes, if you wanted to call it that, it's still dealing with those themes. When all the aunts are like, coming back together to hang out again. I mean, they're still dealing with the grief of losing Cookie, Alora's mother. And also the same thing with Big. Big feels, we actually get that's like the first real significant flashback we get in the show. We find out what happened to Alora's mother, and Big felt responsible. He's carried that weight and responsibility his whole life since that happened, because he felt like he was the reason she died. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so like this whole season has been dealing with like embracing that you can't change the past. You have to like let it go. You know what I mean? Just to like go over some of those like points, like where we left off in season 1, the Daniel's whole thing was going to California. He's never been, and it makes sense in the context of when you think about their small town kids, right? Like they think, or to them, going to California is like the greatest thing you could ever do, because it's like this, it's representative of like it's like the city of like dreams, whatever, that kind of thing. And so
it's literally what I did. Left a small town and went to California.
And there you go, went to California. All right, Alex is a res dog. And basically like the first season was like, they are saving up this money, they're gonna go, and then last minute Jackie and Alora like ditch Bear basically, and they go to California without him. So that's where season 2 picks up,
and it causes a lot of rift between everyone.
Causes a big rift. Bear feels absolutely what's the word I'm looking for, Alex? Like he feels very like stilted. He feels very like jaded toward Alora, because it's like
feels kind of betrayed.
Betrayed. Yeah, I guess that's better way to look at it. That he just feels ultra betrayal. And Alora, not only did Alora leave without him, but left with Jackie, who up until season
it's like the enemy.
1, the enemy, exactly. So just to like point out, like when we find out what they get up to, I thought that those episodes were like hilarious, where like they're 2 17-year-old kids, they don't know what they're doing, they have no money, and they ended up having to really just go back home because they just they lost their money, and they steal a car to get back home. I thought that whole thing was just hilarious.
Yeah, just all the side plots in this are so clever. I think still one of my favorite side plots. It's so little, but it's what are the 2 characters names with the bicycles?
The twins?
Yeah, the twins.
I don't remember their name. They just call them the twins.
We'll just call them the twins. Their bicycles get stolen at one point, and then it's just like you just see them sitting around on the curb looking all sad, and like they're usually like rapping and being real loud, and like I thought that was the most hilarious side plot, because I was like, oh man, like what are the twins with other bicycles? They're like,
yeah,
weird.
My favorite side plot was one that I felt like they totally moonwalked over. Later in the season, because each episode, just so you guys know, like it doesn't really follow a specific timeline, except like maybe like the first one and the last 2. You know what I mean? Like each of the other episodes kind of happen at any point in time. And that whole episode where Cheese essentially gets put in a child protective services home, because you find out that he lives with his uncle. His uncle gets arrested, and his uncle, by the way, played by that TikTok star who was like skateboarding and drinking juice to Fleetwood Mac. That's the guy.
I would have never guessed that. First of all, I didn't know that guy actually acted. I mean, he did.
Neither
great.
did I. He did a great job. He did a really good job. I was like, look at this. That's awesome. The only reason why I recognize him because of the he has the feather tattoo on his head. That's the only reason why I'm like, why does that look so familiar? And when I looked it up, I'm like, oh, it's that guy from TikTok. It's cool.
I would have never guessed that. It's like, what a crazy character. That was such a cool episode too, though, because it's like just like Cheese getting arrested was so unexpected to me, because he seems he's like the most innocent and grounded character.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. Yeah.
But like that's what's cool with the show is like every episode it does kind of have an overarching theme, but like they're all kind of standalone, and it's just like characters dealing with their problems and then like figuring out how to resolve them. By the end of it.
And to that point, like Alora, the biggest conflict I think throughout this show is that Alora and Bear are trying to like simultaneously come to terms with where they are in life.
Hmm.
And Bear is really, really just like, I can't believe you did that to me. And Alora's like, I'm going through stuff, almost like treating Bear like a child, if that makes any sense. And the only thing that really brings Alora back to the squad, to the res dogs, is that her grandmother passes away. And so, that losing her grandmother and then losing Daniel all within the same like year or so, it's a lot. And Willie Jack, my favorite character, by the way. I love
Hmm.
Willie Jack. She's the best character on the show. You won't be able to argue with me about that. Like, I love her. She's awesome.
Willie
But
Jack's
she's
pretty
like,
great.
yeah, she's awesome. And like she's trying to keep the squad together. You know what I mean? Like, she can see the disconnects happening. The other like funny side plot is when she goes to the prison to talk to her cousin, and she tells us this like whole like side plot line from, after they break out Cheese out of this child protective home services. They led us to believe that, like, he's living with his grandma. Turns out it's not his grandma. It's just some old lady. It's just some old lady that they thought it was his
I mean,
grandma.
why? Yeah, you would assume
And
that.
then and then so it's just funny. So he's like, yeah, he got like adopted by his new grandma, which I thought that was just a funny like side joke. But I think it's also emblematic of like Native American culture, right? That like it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. It doesn't matter that I didn't, that you're not part of my blood. You are my blood, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah, everyone feels very family oriented in this. Willie Jack, I think, had like the best character growth in the season. But
Yes.
I think my
Yeah.
favorite character to appear, or one of them, was Kenny Boy, because like Kenny Boy has like such a weird character growth. He's basically like this trailer trash, like meth head guy. And like that's kind of all they show in season one is he's just like, oh, like here's like the druggies, they hang out
Right.
at the park. But like
Very minor in the first season.
yeah, he's very minor, and I feel like he's a lot more present in this one. He gets in like a lot of shenanigans, especially like with Officer Big, and like there's a scene where they basically like bust upon this like really weird cult, and I don't want to dive too much into it because it's definitely worth seeing. But they everyone like everyone's confused why he's like busting them with Officer Big because like uh they're like, aren't you white? Like, aren't you one of us? And he's like, I'm Native American.
Yep, he's Native
Yeah.
American.
And but
Yeah.
I love that he's like he like stands true, which it is. But then even Officer Big, who's like, yeah, you do look a little white though. Like I get it. And it's
I
just
I
it's
love
great.
that episode. Yeah,
Yeah,
he was great, and I love the fact that like he was able to have a vision quest because he's 15% Native American. Like, I thought that was just really funny. I thought that was, I don't know. It's cool, man. I like that.
yeah, and he's just a he comes off as just this reckless addict, but he does have like he has like heart to him, and that's what I like about him.
Yeah, and I think that episode when he felt like they were like he's accepted in the reservation essentially. That's why he was so nice to the kids later. He's like, I'm one of you. It's funny. It's funny, but it's also, I think, also very emblematic of just how the res is, right? It doesn't really matter if you're not like true blood Native American. If you're on the res, you're one of us, that kind of thing. Um and yeah, that kind of takes us to like, Willie Jack trying to essentially get everyone to like, to come together and face whatever problems you got. This season ends with them going to California. Bear's been working this whole time, and he has enough money to do it, so they go to California.
Season one leads to
And
like you think California is in season one, and then like
yeah,
I feel like then you're like maybe it's never gonna happen, and it's cool seeing that actually become a thing.
come a thing. Yeah, I thought that was actually pretty nice, and it was
Yeah,
very cathartic for all of them, I think. um
I have
when they get to Cali, they get to some place. Are you familiar with this place? I was
yeah.
going to ask
So
you.
I started laughing at this because a couple things. The first neighborhood they go to is my old
Yeah.
neighborhood. That's literally
Really?
that's my neighborhood. And Pancho's Tacos is like this obscure hole in the wall. And I was like, are you kidding me? Is this gonna be
That's
like is
awesome.
this gonna be busy now? That wasn't like the
Like a
um
big
no, I mean,
place.
I'm glad they're probably going to get business from the show, but I'm like, shoot, am I have to wait in line now? But it was like funny seeing them like sit down and be served. I'm like, not at Poncho's. This is like not one of those places. This is like you're in line and not like no one's like
No
asking
one's
you
gonna
like
come
what
up
you
to you.
want. Yeah, and like I was actually kind of mad when this happened until I realized that they got played so perfectly because they finally get to Pancho's Tacos, they get their car stolen, and they're trying to just like figure out how to get to the beach, and they run into this like hippie guy who looks like Jesus. They
Jesus,
just
yeah,
call him White Jesus, right?
white Jesus. No, they
Yeah.
call them. They call them.
Or
No, I think they call them hippie Jesus.
oh yeah, some
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
whatever. It was like a Jesus guy, and they're like, they're just like trying to figure out how to get to the beach, and he's like, "Yeah, you're about 10 miles away," and then it like kind of leads them on a journey to like this like homeless camp. They were maybe a quarter of a mile from the beach at Pancho's Tacos, and he leads them towards downtown, which is the opposite direction.
Oh, that's hilarious. So
So they
that must be a
actually,
joke for people
yeah,
who live there. That had to have been a joke for people who live there for
because they were
sure.
on Lincoln Boulevard between Santa Monica and Venice, and like literally, it's like, but Lincoln Boulevard is far enough away that you can't actually see the beach. But if you like could look on Google Maps, they're like right there. And I
And like they're so crazy. I'm like, you guys should not be going to like a homeless camp to
no,
spend the night. Like that's super dangerous. I'm like, what the? Oh, these kids are crazy, dude.
but
That's
I thought that
hilarious.
was kind of a fun play with the show because people that don't know LA are going to be like,
I
oh
would
yeah,
never know that.
they're not near the beach. I don't know. And then for
Yeah.
me, I'm like, that's literally a 5 minute walk from my old house, and like that's
Yeah.
I don't know. I never lived in a neighborhood where they actually like filmed something, so I thought
That yeah,
that was fun.
that must have been the joke though. That honestly,
Yeah,
I have to believe that was the joke because um that seems like one of those jokes. Like if you live in the area, then you would understand why him saying 10 miles this other way, and they're walking through residential neighborhoods, and people are looking at them like that's really funny.
I'm gonna
So
look on Google Maps and actually get the exact distance because I think it's so hilarious.
yeah, I mean, and the way they ended that season, I thought was really nice. Where
Mhm.
Daniel always wanted to see specifically Alora, get into the water and whatever, and you find out that like all the tension is really just she feels guilty if she tries to get over Daniel's passing. You know what I mean? Like she
Mhm.
feels like if I try to forget my grief, then I'm going to forget that person. And I think she finally embraces this idea that it's like we have to move on. You know what I mean? Not because we want to, but because Daniel would want us to. And then they all go into the, they get into the water and yeah, that's really how the season ends.
It's I really like that closure. It actually reminded me a little bit of because I was actually around that age when I had a brother pass away, and I totally understood it because it's like it's one of those things where like when someone when someone passes away that you're close to or related to, you don't like yeah you don't want to like you don't want to like accidentally like uh give up on them or something. You know, it's like things you do. You might be like, oh, this is like pushing that those memories away of them. But it's like no, it's like you're giving yourself closure, you know, to certain things, and then like opening yourself up to new moments. And I thought it was a really cool and like realistic way of handling grief. Like I feel like I saw a lot of similarities, especially with like the age that they're at. So I was like, wow, they've got to be like 16 or 17
Exactly.
around
And
this.
they're not
So
any more mature than the adults around them. I think that's
mhm.
what that show is trying to show, that like everyone's just trying to do their best, right? And I felt like that was a really cool way to like give them closure while opening up the show to like new things, because there is still a lot of unresolved I guess you could say issues, you know what I mean? Specifically with the fact that like Willie Jack and Bear are, they're graduated basically. The fact that Alora, you know, I mean, she dropped out of school, right? I mean, I feel like that's an unspoken thing there, right? Like she dropped out of school, so like there's just like a lot of things there that are still present. Bear doesn't want to go back home, that kind of stuff. So I think where this show is trying to lead like all these kids is that like the reservation is what you make it. I think we talked about that the first season. Like it is what you make it. Like it's the home you make. You can go anywhere in the world, but you'll never be accepted or looked at the same unless you're on the res with your people, that kind of thing. So Alex, like what were your thoughts about this
I
season?
I
Final
loved
thoughts.
this season. honestly I don't really have anything negative to say about it. I think I liked it more. I mean, it's hard to say if I liked it more than season one because I also loved season one so much. But I think I liked the growth of this season a lot more, and I like that we kind of got to dive into the world of other characters, especially like the parents, and I feel like they dealt with a lot of topics that I don't always see in shows, and I I loved it enough that I'm excited. I hope they do at least another season or two with this. I think that would be like the perfect way to finish it off.
Yeah, I agree. I think the show has this insane balance of being lighthearted and at the same time being very serious. They flawlessly bounce between the two concepts, and I think that's what makes the show enjoyable. Right? That you don't, I don't feel like the show's dragging at any
Mhm.
point. You know what I mean?
We've got some good
I feel
writing
like
here.
yeah, very good writing, and I think all the characters are so unique in themselves, and I think that's where the show gets its charm from. The show definitely has a charm. I think in this era where we have so many different types of TV shows, it's nice to have a show this different. If that makes any sense, like
Well, and also it's pretty simple in the sense that like it's just characters and their dialogue, and you know like I know you guys have talked with this, and like I just caught up with Rings of Power, and it's just like it just feels like that's kind of the direction of so many shows now is like there's so much CGI and there's so much like catered I don't know, it's like there's just like so many like TV just like has like a look that you know you're watching TV right now. And this just
yeah.
like makes me feel like I'm just like hanging out on the res with these characters, and I'm just kind of seeing them like, you know, living their story. Like I feel like a side character when I watch it.
Yeah.
I think
It
that's what I'm
brings
trying
me
to get
back
at.
to like the early days of streaming where like you had a lot of shows that were just unique. You know what I mean? And that was the draw. That's why I love that even though Disney is like working overtime to destroy Fox and everything that Fox built, but I like that they're at least keeping FX around because I feel like FX and Kate and I talked about this when we talked about the bear. Like I feel like FX is like the only like studio trying to bring these dynamic type of shows, if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
because you have Dave as well, and
Dave, Atlanta,
yeah,
the bear. There's a lot of them.
has FX done anything wrong yet? Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Is there something FX has done that's bad? Please tell
It's
me.
tough. I mean, remember they had Legion, right, which is a
Yeah.
really good like X-Men story. So like they have a lot of like really good shows, and I think it's because and this will be my last thought, and we can back out of here. But like
Mhm.
I think in Hollywood right now, everyone's afraid to take like a chance on an idea because like like a studio has to make sure that this is gonna sell, right? That's why Amazon's like, we're gonna drop a bill. We're gonna drop a bill on Rings of Power because they're like, it's Lord of the Rings. They know at the bare minimum they can recoup whatever money back, right? That's why every Amazon package I've been getting for the last month has rings of power, right? That's why like when you go on Amazon.com, it's all over there because they want to recoup their losses. I feel like with FX, it's like, hey man, if you have an idea, let's try it, let's run with it, let's see where it goes. And I'm finding that I'm enjoying that type of TV more than the big quote unquote blockbuster stuff. Like,
Same here. Even though I like some blockbusters, but I
me
like
too.
the grounded shows.
It's nice to have a change of pace. I
Yeah,
guess that's a better way to put it.
and
I like that.
Reservation Dogs is definitely worth checking out to anyone who
Yeah,
hasn't.
man.
I don't know why you'd be listening to season two of. I don't know why you'd be listening on season two if you've never watched any of Reservation Dogs. But if you've seen season one,
Yeah,
definitely check this out.
definitely check out season two. Well, guys, that's our show. Thank you guys for listening. If you found our podcast, let us know if you liked it. If we stream on just about every platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Facebook podcasts, TikTok podcasts. I'm making up podcasts platforms, but
Talkcast is what they
Talk,
call
yeah,
it.
talk. Okay, there we go. TikTok,
There we
reach
go.
out, sponsor us. We'll be your first show on Talkcast. But yes, guys, you can also find us on any social media platform that you use: Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at the Bandwagon Fan Podcast. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
The Bandwagon Fan Podcast is hosted by Josh Jimenez, Alex Margosa, and me, AJ Soy. Our show is produced by Kate Smith and edited by your boy, AJ. Our social media is managed by Natalia Kokulia, and our theme song, Lush Waves, is provided to us by Taylor Lewin of _audio. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.